Welcome back to another episode of CIOtv. I am Jennifer Hopper, the Chief Strategy Officer for AuditMax, and I am accompanied here today by David Reichard, the Managing Partner of Vaco, and also the Chairman of the Northeast Florida STEM 2 Hub. David, welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's nice to be here.
Appreciate it. I wanted to start, I know we're both on the STEM board together, but I know you've been in technology via the the staffing world for quite a while, and you just made some changes. How did you get started into staffing and basically your background in IT?
Yeah, my first entry into technology was really with a startup company here in Jacksonville, and progressed over the years and got really involved in large software enterprise projects, mostly with CRM type applications. And you can see pretty quickly the challenge for most companies was always around talent, finding the right talent and being able to truly understand how to consume the talent to deliver a meaningful solution.
Right. So were you on the staffing side of that, or were you actually the one of the engineers and software developers of it?
Yes, I was more so on project management and leadership for it. So I would typically interact with people like me today to identify and hire talent.
Right. So you know what to look for in talent. How's that changed over the last, I'd say the last 3 years? How's that changed for you?
It's gotten a lot harder. The good thing is we're not alone. It's hard for everyone, but I think it's a wake-up call for all of us to understand how important the technology is to the future, but more importantly, how do we build the workforce that can help us facilitate that change with technology.
Yeah, and I know, so Alluvion was your baby. You were the CEO, and you recently made a change, and you guys were purchased by Vaco. How has that changed, and what's the future look like, and also what does Vaco bring to the table that Alluvion didn't?
Yeah, so the irony for us with the change from Alluvion to Vaco, it really lines up well with where we think the talent is going and where technology is going within the industry. You know, for us, as we continue to find ways to add value to customers, it's a lot more than just a job description, a resume, and an interview. The needs are so diverse, the technology is changing so fast that it's really not feasible to continue to always solve a problem by hiring and adding people, because as
throwing bodies at it?
Right, because as that technology gets dated, then you still have people that now are not as important, but yet you still have the expense tied to it. So as we were looking at how do we continue to grow, what we found is we really needed to be able to provide some different services and solutions to our customers, whether it's with strategic consulting or even some delivery-based, software engineering type services. And really by merging into the Vaco platform, it gave us that capability.
And probably gave you a bigger talent pool with more offices nationwide to be able to pull from as well. Especially, even being, Jacksonville based in Florida, we still have clients all over that have offices all over the nation that still need help. And it's not just us that are feeling the staffing shortage, that's for sure. It's everyone.
Yeah, you're correct. And when you mentioned earlier about the number of people now, that we have 40 locations across the country. We're a $1 billion organization, so we do have a different capability that we can bring to customers of any size. And when you line that up with where the workforce has gone with this big push to go remote, it's even more critical now to be able to have a lot of different tools to offer.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I know that kind of works hand in hand with STEM. One of the big initiatives we all have is to continue to bring more kids into the workforce, into IT, let them know that there are positions available, that they may not think that it's an IT position or that they can't work their way up to it. They have to have a master's degree or they have to have a bachelor's degree, but there's a lot of ways that they can get in and get their feet under them and get that experience without maybe taking on a lot of student debt.
Yeah, I think you're right. Fortunately, I think the kids today have more technical skills than any kids in history. However, the adults in the room, sometimes I don't think we understand as well how to translate that into a meaningful places in the workforce. So I think when you look at like the work we're doing with STEM Hub, it's so vital that we're able to connect the actual needs to the community and to the corporations and leverage the capabilities that these kids have naturally, so that they can build a prosperous future.
Yeah. Absolutely, and can continue to drive the workforce moving forward. What are you seeing? And I know we we all see it, of millennials and these that are coming out of high school, coming out of college. What are you seeing the challenges with this era of students? And
Yeah, I think what's starting to converge now is, for the longest time there was definitely within the millennial world a desire to work remotely, and a lot of big companies are very traditional, or used to be very traditional in how they approached building their workforce.
agreed.
So the thought of remote was just out of the question. But now where we are in 2022 is everyone knows it's a critical part of their strategic workforce plan. If they don't allow remote, they're not going to find the people.
No. And I think a lot of companies, ours being one of, once we finally embraced that, we realized there was another talent pool across the nation that, you could actually make that work. They still could collaborate because of all the new tools that they have. But at the same time, there is a lot to be said for people being in the office and talking and being social, which I see being a challenge for that generation of being able to work in an office environment and not be behind a screen all day long.
Yeah, you're correct. And when you think about what's the future look like, well, I think companies are now figuring out how to use the workforce, but now they're trying to understand, how do you maintain your culture? How do you build that strong unit amongst your coworkers, that family type atmosphere where people, are happy to ride for the brand, to
Right.
use the term that, people talk about. There's always been a lot of allegiance tied to the companies you work for. And there's a little bit of a fear now. A lot of companies people have been working for companies for 2 or 3 years and maybe never stepped into their corporate headquarters.
Yeah.
So how do you now go back and connect them to your company's mission and what you do and why you do it? So yeah, the challenges, I think, are changing every day, almost like the technology is.
Yeah, it's a hard balance, but it seems to be working for now. Do you think that we'll ever go back to the traditional of where everyone goes to the office, or do you think we're in the virtual world, at least part of the employees?
I think some skill sets, some resources will go back, but I'm a believer that the majority will always have some kind of hybrid or flex type work schedule from this point forward.
Yeah.
Because we truly have a global workforce now. I mean, it doesn't matter if your resource is in California, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, you can still perform all the same job functions. And technology is really the enabler. It's been the true game changer, the push to cloud and being able to provide a safe, secure environment for people to work from anywhere in the world has truly now removed all the barriers. So it's almost like, well, what's next? Well, if you ask the people, they don't want to go back into the office, for the most part. But
Right.
a lot of them do like the hybrid schedule. They'd like to have a couple of days a week to mix with. But I don't think any time in the near future we go back to a full 5 days in the office across the board for all people.
Yeah. How are you seeing the millennials interview versus the traditional, I don't want to say our age employees, but
The young people?
the younger people, those of us who have who've been around a little bit longer and had face-to-face interviews, are a lot of these companies flying them in to interview in corporate, or are they just everything's done online?
Yeah, I think they're probably more comfortable now because most of the interviews are being done via video, some video tool. So what used to 2 or 3 years ago seemed like it was impossible. A video interview was unheard of. Okay, now I want to meet them in person, so I can make my final decision. I would say most of our clients today, they do a video interview and they hire off of it.
Yeah.
They provision their hardware, software, send it to them. FedEx tracking number, you'll get it on this day at this time, and when they open the machine up, it's configured and working, and they have a learning and training program that they can actually bring people into the workforce in a very connected way, or as closely connected as they can, based on being remote, and they're up and running literally
Right.
the same days.
Yeah, that's been a big part of our business. A big growth of our logistics is the onboarding and offboarding of employees and making sure they had everything that they needed day one. A lot of our customers do here's your employee handbook, and here's your phone and your cell phone and your computer, your printer, everything all in one box. So you're ready to roll on day one. One last thing real quick. What drew, I know from the staffing perspective, obviously, but what else drew you in? Because philanthropy is very important to me. I know it is to you, but what brought you into the STEM2 Hub other than just Kathleen?
She has a very magnetic way of pulling you in.
She does.
And pulling you in real close.
Yes.
I think what really was interesting to me, and now if you look back to when we started the process to where we are today, it's changed a little bit of the storyline, but the outcome is still the same. But there's no greater way to impact your community than to ensure that your kids have the best opportunity for the best education and to have a great career when they get to the end of it. And then if in doing that they can stay in the community and they can continue to thrive in the community and stay with their family and circle of friends, you can still maintain that sense of community but also offer a great career opportunity. And it seemed like STEM was the way to make that happen, and I think we're proving that we were correct.
Yeah. I agree. It's amazing the leaps and bounds that we've made in just a few years, and how it's not only impacting Northeast Florida, but it's also impacting all over the world with the people that are coming to visit. So thank you for your time today. I very much appreciate it. And thank you. We are out for CIOtv today. David Reichard, thank you. And I look forward to seeing everyone again.